What's going on, Tamers? Welcome to DigiPod, the digital podcast. Today's episode is Digi-Talks, featuring Mario's Gaming World. That's right, we started a new series, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, all right.
Digi-Talks.
How's it going?
Digi-Talks.
What's up, Mario?
What's up? Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
It's been, it's been in works for what, like a month now, I guess? Just under a month. We were trying to figure out like where we wanted to go and how we wanted to plan things out. But yeah, it's great to have you on. It works out. We kicked Mike off because Mike's our part-timer.
Mike's, he's sometimes irrelevant. It's all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, he comes and goes.
So we're going to start off today, the thing we always talk about. We're going to talk about locals, and I can tell you guys the thing I tell you almost every week is that I didn't go to locals.
Man's a loser.
Mario didn't go to locals last week. So Dan, you're the only one who went to locals. Tell us how you got your ass kicked by Gino again.
I didn't play Gino, so I would have busted his ass because he was playing a deck that I just hard count on accident. I was like, Mother showed a restricted ban. I had to play D Reaper for the last time, you know what I'm saying? I ended up going 2-1. I threw against Sakuya on round 1 because I was like overconfident. Yeah, overconfidence. I was like, Sakuya ain't doing jack shit to me because I'm, Mother D Reaper. I just do things, whatever. So he gets me down to like last security, goes to a Boulder arm. I'm like, oh, I can't redirect this now because I don't get on place to neg. Oh, wait, he's swinging 2 checks and then he unsuspended. I should have blocked and I never did.
Damn.
And so that's what happened. And game 2, I was slow at the gate. He just went Sakuya X like twice, swing, Boulder arm twice. And like one turn, it was like shenanigans. And then that was game. Then I played... I don't remember what I played round 2 at the moment. Oh, wait. No, I don't remember what I played round 2. I remember round 3. I played against Ghost. That was pretty easy. level deletion based. Yeah, that's a rough one for them. You know what I'm saying? And it was quick 2-0. I really don't remember what I played round 2 right now. Oh, Crossheart. That's what it was. I was running MirageGaogamon and MirageGaogamon got solos that deck. They go into the big cross dude, and I'm like, all right, cool. We'll just suspend him so you don't get the win attack, and it will pop something else. Like it was just pretty easy, honestly, with that. Cool thing, the new what's it called? The new ADR1 Jerry. Pretty cool because you can stack multiple in the stack and then like pop them out as you go, and you get multiple redirects with it. Pretty cool card. And D Reaper Zone was it came up when it comes up, but you have Shotos on board, you have Medieval Galley on board. I'm running ties too, so you're never gonna get the main effect, and sometimes the security effect pops up. It's not like Jerry where it starts at like 3 costs and then you can like add to play it out. It's basically whatever source you have. So if you do an early game, it's kind of ass. So it's always like a mid to late game, and at that point, sometimes you don't want to waste the memory to do it. So it's a interesting card. I gotta see what future Mother D Reaper looks like after no more Shotos.
Yeah, well, you don't have a choice. Now you don't have Shotos.
I know. I'm about to start running.
You're forced to play archetypal stuff.
It was a joke. I was like, I'm about to run 2 Medieval Galley and 2 Death X's and then watch people cry when I drop both.
That's nasty.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right. Well, Mario. So I feel like I've watched a fair bit of your videos and I know a little bit about like how you've gotten into Digimon and like your card game history. But for those of our audience who hasn't watched you or just doesn't know about your history in general, tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to Digimon TCG? If you enjoy Digimon, and just, a couple other things like that. Floor is yours.
All right. Well, hello. I am Mario from Mario's Gaming World. And technically I've been on YouTube now for just over 5 years. I was convinced to start a YouTube channel by Mr. Ruggles Ryan, which you guys have talked about before. He
Yeah, that man's
convinced
a
me.
goat.
He is such a goat. He's the best. Oh, I love him. Anyway, we're best friends, and it's just great guy. Anyway, so when I started my channel, like January 2020, it was a vlog of me running my card shop and just like, how could you be an entrepreneur in a card shop world, whatever. And it started off on all cylinders, and they were all vlog-based videos, which was great. And then COVID happened, and then that channel just tanked, I guess, because, card shops all around were closing. In Canada, they were closing. United States, they were closing because of restrictions and all this stuff. It was just a terrible, terrible time. So that idea for the channel, I kept doing it, like one video a week, but it was just wasn't really popping off. I was still doing it, so I wanted to do it, but there was that. And then I believe it was the summer of 2020. Our DBS community at the time told me that I should carry this new card game coming out for the Digimon TCG. And I said, okay, I'll look into it. But there was such an overwhelming desire to play it. And once word got around, it wasn't just the DBS players. Some of the Yu-Gi-Oh players wanted it. Some of the Pokemon players wanted it. So with all that interest, I said, let's just, we'll do it. And because my store was as in good standing, because of all the DBS stuff I did, that allowed me to be part of like that November pre-release thing where you got all the boxes before everyone else and whatever.
Right.
So that was really cool. We got those at the end of November, and I just started making Digimon videos, and here we are. It's March 2025, and we're still making Digimon videos, and I've been around the block. I've played in my tournaments. I've made the content. I've went on a whole bunch of trips that were made possible thanks to this game. I made a whole lot of friends and acquaintances that would have been impossible had it not been for this game, which I'm thankful for. People like Vault, who I see regularly because he's 2 hours away from me. It's very cool. It's honestly really wholesome. And I like the market. I like buying the Digimon cards. I like selling the Digimon cards. I enjoy it. And I enjoy the I enjoy the content, and it's, I keep making the videos because I want to make the videos.
Right.
I stopped streaming for a little bit because I've been very, 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 very busy. But, we still enjoy what we're doing for the most part. And, yeah, that's me.
So
Hey, as long as you still enjoy it, that's what really matters at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, like, you were originally a Yu-Gi-Oh content creator, and you got into Digimon because, like you said, you were selling it, and then you started playing it. But what was the actual drive for you to start playing the game? Like, especially coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, right? I know a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh players, they come over and they're like, well, I hated Yu-Gi-Oh and this looks cool, so I wanted to play this. But what brought you over to Digimon in terms of wanting to play it, and then what kept you playing the game?
I'm going to be real. I was also one of those people because 2020 Yu-Gi-Oh was to me just unsavory. Did not
Sure
like
was.
it. Was not a fan. So I was like, what? Brand new card game. I've played them all. And like, I think it's important that when you run a card shop, you kind of have to know at least a little bit, if not more than a little bit, on like every game. So like, I've played at least a tiny amount of every card game. Some sticks more than others. But, Yu-Gi-Oh was, the main thing. And I was just, the Yu-Gi-Oh players were kind of getting turned off. And, people were wanting a reason to come play card games again because of COVID. And I decided, I'll just take Digimon, full force. And, I stuck with it because I saw the cards that were coming out in, Release Booster 1 and the original starter decks. And I liked the memory gauge. I think that was a really cool thing. I liked the security and the playing around security. I think that was a really cool thing. And a little bit of Digimon background. I'm not a Digimon lore master at all. I watched the first season. I watched a little bit of the second season, not the whole thing, a little bit. And I watched the full movie, the full first movie. And I fell in love with Omnimon because of that movie. And ever since then, Omnimon, has always been my favorite Digimon of all time.
And that's why we have a Omnimon section at the start of every market watch.
every market watch. Yeah.
That's
in case you guys are ever wondering.
That's
see the
lore.
comments. It's so funny.
We know the Mario lore now.
Why do you cover Omnimon when there's no changes? Because I like Omnimon.
I remember watching, I watched the Digimon season, once, the first season, maybe twice. But I remember as a teenager, I would regularly binge watch the movie. Just, if I was studying for something, I would just have it on the background, I watched that movie. I put in a lot of miles on that movie. It was just it's so cool.
See, even Mario understands. Even Mario understands the goldenness of the movie. You, Varney, you disgrace me, okay? Because you say the bad words, the blasphemy you speak about when it comes to Digimon the movie.
Listen, I hate to say this, but you know what my
don't you do it?
You know what my Digimon the movie was? It was Pokemon. It was the one with Mewtwo.
I mean, yeah, we watched it. I'm sure we did.
Yes,
I'm sure we all watched it as a kid too, but there's levels to this, Barney. There's levels
when
to
Ash
this.
got turned into a statue and Pikachu was crying, and then they all did the spirit bomb thing where they lifted up their energies and they gave it to Ash. And that's my Omnimon moment, unfortunately.
That's honestly that's a good moment and a classic. And I watched that movie a lot too on VHS over and over again.
Woo.
Same.
Dating myself a little bit. Yeah.
If you guys don't know what VHS is, you're probably a little bit too young to be listening to this.
Most Digimon card players, I think, are the age group we're in, so they will understand the reference.
That's wild.
It is. God. We are dating ourselves, but you know what?
Oh my god!
It's because it's Digimon. This is what I've always said. Digimon players, unfortunately, we're a loyal bunch, for better or for worse. We get dragged through we get dragged every so often, more often than not. But sometimes it works out in our interest, and sometimes that's how we end up with something like Digimon TCG 2020, and that's also how we end up not somehow getting all the games that the other regions get, such as all the gacha games that we don't necessarily need, but I definitely want because I would like to spend stupid money on. Digimon Source Code, Digimon New Century. Game. It's so infuriating. I just want to.
Maybe one day.
One day. I
don't think that day is really wish. For that game.
I don't think it will either. I can only hope. There's 3 actually, because it's Source Code, New Century, and then there's a Digimon Rumble game that's Korean. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but
yeah, I don't know.
It's Digimon Super
New
Rumble.
Century, that game's been out for 2 years or something like that now, and ain't nowhere near sight of us getting it for some reason.
I hate it. I hate everything about it. It was probably because the other 2 games we had performed so horribly. Is what I would assume, but it is what it is. So, obviously, I don't have to say it. If you guys are watching this, you already know there's been some substantially big news. We've gotten a ban list.
Some changes.
No way, really?
We've
is it possible?
Is it possible that we've gotten a ban list? We got a whole bunch of new card reveals. We got a spoiler from Bandai themselves that we're finally getting a sim. I can only hope that
maybe.
Right. I can only hope that they're not cocking us with that announcement.
Just in case.
And also a very big announcement that is adjacent to us, our brothers and sisters over in the One Piece world. Their card game is switching to a rotation first format, and side, eternal formats, whatever. I don't know. Big news all around in the Bandai world. Mario, you're our guest. I'll leave it up to you. What do you want to talk about first?
I think all of this is conversation worthy. I think we start with the ban list because this is definitely affecting the most amount of your audience.
100%.
That's a fact.
I agree.
So
Matt's zero.
Matt's a zero.
Where do we start?
The second banned card, officially. Just as broken as Mega Digimon Fusion, apparently.
When you put it in that light, right? What a way to say that. Like, Matt was MDF levels of OP.
I do wonder when it comes to that card, is it just because we have a new team now and they were like, they noticed what things happened in the past and they were like, you know what? We know if this is at 1, it ain't gonna change much the moment they see it. So we put a 0, call it a day. You know what I'm saying?
I'm really happy that they did, like, the day that they announced it on the world stream, they did not give us the justifications. It was just the screenshot. It was just the picture.
Yeah.
Like, there you go. Enjoy. But since then, they did reveal the reasoning behind some of the hits. And, like, did Matt pay for Duskmon's sins? Sure
100%. 100% did.
The number of times you play Purple Hybrid and they bring back that Matt to add back that hybrid, to evolve into that hybrid, to evolve into promote for game. For example, is just, you know, crazy. It sucks because it's such just a generically good tamer for Purple. It's been seen play since the beginning, all the way to the end.
Yep.
But it was really the Purple Hybrid looping that was the nail in the coffin, unfortunately.
I'm kind of glad that they went the route of banning it because I'm of the mind more now than I was back then that cards just need to be banned and not restricted. My biggest worry with Matt was that, all right, cool, you're going to limit it to 1 and then it's going to be, it's going to be that luck sack. All right, cool, I found my singular Matt. Now all I need to do is die with it and then recur it and then we're good. Another card that got restricted, so Matt was the only banned card, but another card that got restricted is Jack Raid. And my big thing was, as long as you have access to Matt, you have access to your 1 copy of Jack Raid. So like, you hit the consistency of the deck, but it can still do exactly what it's doing now, just not as consistently. But banning Matt just says no. You
use that Jack Raid at a very smart time.
Exactly. And the only way in the card game to get option cards back from the trash, to my knowledge, is via BT3 Lilithmon. I don't think there are any other cards
Wasn't there Dracmon?
So there's a it is a there is a Dracmon. Or is it 7 cost? It might be a 7 cost option. You may return 1 purple option card with a memory cost of 1 or 7. So no Jack Raid for Dracmon.
Darn. I was so close. I was like, yes, that's a tech right there.
So the only way to add an option card back to your hand now is via Lilithmon. And that shuts down every loop deck that has been in existence. That shuts down, because I remember Lilith Loop of old. You know, obviously they played that Lilithmon. You can pull the options back, but they also played that Matt, so you have that same ability. Millith Loop, they may not have played the Matt as much, but you were still predicated on pulling those options back. And now the only way that you can do that is by digivolving into a level 6, which is a harder task than it may seem to be, especially for any sort of loop shenanigans. So it's kind of crazy. But Lilith also takes a hit because no more Jack Raid for 2. Oh wait, Lilithmon gain another 2 for memory. No more of that. It's done.
They said, poor Millith loop deck.
Yeah. They said no more looping. No more looping.
Oh man, it needed to happen, but like
it did.
The Mummy Loop version still is affected by all that too, right? I believe.
I don't know what Mummy Loop does. You'll have to educate me.
The same concept as like Lil Loop a little bit.
How do you kill yourself? Do you just use like options?
The Mummymon's effects.
And then you just, I mean, I don't think that's affected, right? Because like, what options are you playing that you need to?
I think they still needed a Jack Raid and Matt. I believe they still needed them. I don't remember.
I don't
been a
see
while
why
since I
you
looked at
wouldn't
it.
play it.
Right.
Yeah. I just remember like you can like do all the drawing, all the shenanigans to keep looping up to I think you're able to use little loop. I don't remember. But you just keep looping that with the Arukeni Mummymon Tamer too. So you play him for 3, you keep going until you get whatever you needed. And I know Lilithmon was in that deck.
Gotcha. I don't recall, but speaking of Jack Raid being hit, it's about damn time. I don't care what anybody has to say. I'm sorry. You guys can look me in my face as I say this. Jack Raid has needed to go since Hammer Spark got hit. Hammer Spark was out of left field for me, but the moment Hammer Spark went, I was like, all right, so then let's put all the other ones to 1 or 0.
Which is really interesting because Hammer Spark is now at 1, Jack Raid is now at 1, Blinding Ray is now at 1.
Sure is.
Yep.
But they seemingly forgot about Gravity Crush.
It's so insane. I guess from a game design perspective, I get it because you lose 2 memory at the end of the turn.
If you have that.
If you have it, exactly. That's the whole point. I hate that argument. I'm just like, you can structure your turn in a way that losing that 2 memory doesn't actually do anything to you.
Yeah, no.
If you just so happen to give your opponent a turn after a Gravity Crush.
Yeah,
I wonder if they felt that the Aguni hit was enough for red hybrid decks. They're like, you know what? Let's chill out and Gravity Crush for now.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind the Jack Raid hits, or the Jack Raid and Blinding Ray hit, Jack Raid, they said, since the card was designed, the speed at which the number of cards in trash can be accumulated has also increased, making it easier to secure a large amount of memory, which is what I've been saying for like the longest time. I know one of, so Panzer, one of his arguments was, well, purple needs to work to get its cards in trash. I'm like, yes, but when that's part of your deck's game plan,
when you
what
have
does it matter?
Velgramon, that does
what does it matter that you have to get cards in trash if your deck is doing that as part of its game plan? Sure, not every purple deck plays it. That's a fact. But when the purple decks do play it, the purple decks are circumventing the game's mechanics, air quote, so to say. We all know it. I remember, so going right back to post Alphamon hit, the game was like in like such a zen zone. And we were like, all right, nice. There's no more memory abusing to go around. And very shortly after, they brought out a new series called Digimon Seekers. And they gave us a Digimon that said, hey guys, the turn doesn't end until your opponent is at 3 or more memory. To which I said, well, why the fuck did you hit Alphamon? Like, it makes no sense. And we had this dumb fucking dog running around for last fucking 2 formats with its fucking big Zacian ass sword in its mouth and just doing his thing. And that also got hit for what it's worth. But another deck that was just like, hey, that memory gauge though, I don't care about that. We're going to circumvent that.
You know, the progression of the game has got to a point where the memory gauge doesn't seem to matter as much, especially for certain decks that just say, I'm gonna pretend this doesn't exist for a minute and combo off. Like, it's just like the memory gauge was such a core mechanic of the game when it first started. Like, you did not mess with the memory gauge. The memory gauge controlled all. But now it's not like that anymore. And you hate to see it, you know? And this kind of reminded me, when I saw the Blinding Ray hit, I thought about Magnemon X. Okay, fine. But a deck that came to my mind that I haven't touched in years was that Veedramon Zero Megidramon loop deck. If you know what that is, it was a deck where you played Veedramon Zeros as an inheritable, and you would, I forget exactly how it works, but you would basically recycle all your Blinding Rays with Veedramon Zero, because it's when attacking, put 3 non-Digi-Egg cards from your trash at the bottom of the deck. But you'd mill yourself out, you'd go through your whole deck, and then you would do your combo where basically you mill the opponent out, because you keep milling their deck, and you keep recycling Megidramon with things like Calling, and you kept recycling the Blinding Rays and all this stuff, and you never ran out of memory. It was incredibly inconsistent. Like, I brought that to a locals one time. I won 2-2, like never again. But like that deck did not care about memory gauge either, because if you got off the combo, you just killed your opponent. Like
same concept with the promo Black-Greymon Chimeramon OTK deck. You just set up a whole bunch of things, and you're running like 4 Gravity Crushes, 4 any memory gauge shenanigans, 4 Blinding Ray, because I had that, 4 trainings, boost.
Yeah.
And you do your 1 combo, and you're like, all right, cool. We're going to gain like 20 memory this turn. DNA Chimera, digital promo Black-Greymon, just swing, game.
Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know.
I do like this. I wish they went to 0. I'm more of a fan of just hitting cards outright and just not even giving the chance for one-ofs to impact the game like that. But I think for now,
certain cards are like I've said in the past. I think certain cards are fine at one of. I think Blinding Ray and Jack Raid's probably going to be okay at a one of. I don't see them being like super like, all right, I saw Mirage, I win. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not. I don't think that's going to be that for those type of cards. They're going to be more, adding to your combos per se. But that's the only time you're ever going to have that thing like Ice Wall. You know what I'm saying? Like Ice Wall to me is a perfect one of. Yeah,
especially with Matt being hit. It's like, all right, cool.
Exactly. It's
I guess
hard
this
to
is
recycle
fine. I just wish that Gravity Crush was on this list, because it's the hitting Blinding Ray and hitting Jack Raid is the acknowledgement that like what a lot of players have been saying for the longest time, these 0-cost memory options have the potential to be extremely stupid and degenerate. We saw it with Blinding Ray first, even before Magna X. We saw that with Cross Merva, and then also like just yellow remove from security shenanigans. There was like Kentaurismon, as trash as it is, I hate to admit it, but like the Godomon and Odin's Breath and stuff like that. Like there should be a cost associated with doing things in Digimon. It's what makes the game fair. And when like you said earlier, Mario, when decks just look at the memory gauge and say, thanks for the suggestion, but I'm gonna do my own thing, it's what makes the game degenerate. So I'm okay with them at 1 for now. But talking about decks that do unfair fucking bullshit, Fenry, this hit was not the hit that I expected. I expected Balmon, because it's the engine, air quote. You discard, you Digivolve, you discard, you Digivolve, you discard, you Digivolve. If you hit that, you force them to play the other egg, and then they have to use like Skull Beluchimon to achieve the same chain. It's a little bit less consistent, so it's a little bit fairer. But they just said, "Nah, fuck the dog."
You know what's crazy? Like, I don't know. Like, out of all the times we had the Banlist talk, I don't know why we never thought of just hit Fenrir. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because
it was always
really
like
didn't
Balmon. I think Soul Lugar popped up in our conversations one time. I think even Taki to an extent. Like, Fenrir was actually a perfect hit. It just stopped the shenanigans of being at 3 or less, and you still your turn bullshit.
Fenrir was my third choice. Beaumon was number 1. I think that's the most insane card in the deck. Soul Lugarmon was my second choice. Fenrir was my third choice. And, I do respect it. But now if you see your Fenrir, well, you win anyway. But that's just...
but now, at least the chance of that happening is way slimmer than it was previously.
I can say with a degree of certainty that I have gotten turn 2 or 3 killed by Takamikazuchi more often than I would like to admit.
Same. Absolutely.
Now with them having the
receiving end and the dishing end.
Right. Now with them having this card at 1, if it happens, I hate that you found your one of, but I guess you decided to play this high roll ass deck, so I'll take it on the chin. Mm-hmm. That's the way that I look at it. The other Fenry, it's trash. It's not. It's just not. It's the one thing I've always hated about Fenry. They released 3 distinctive lines of support with 3 distinctive playstyles. They did not make BT14 gel with anything from BT17. and they did not make BT17 gel with anything from BT20, which is honestly tragic. Because I've always loved, the moment I saw it, like I love Lugamon, I love Fenry, the idea of the deck. I remember being super upset that from BT14 to BT17, I couldn't play the same deck. I had to switch and play this Takumi Kazuchi style deck. And then from 17 to 20, I was like, well, I'm not even going to touch the 20 shit because, well,
the
it's quite literally shit.
Why would
crap.
you?
It's so crap compared to the other one, right?
Facts. And now your inheritable is, oh, when you swing with a Fenry, like you like trash a security or some shit. But like, what does that matter when your secret rare says set the memory to 3 and then gain a memory? Because you're still not keeping turn. So like, what the fuck are you supposed to do?
Oh man, so sorry. Taki now has to play on a fair field. They have to have, right. 0 memory to do things. So, oh no. Fuck that dog.
You know what the play is? You gotta set up a BT14 Fenry first, then you can go balls to the wall with a Takumi Kazuchi play. Exactly. Exactly my point. Oh my goodness.
All dogs gotta go to heaven. It's all right.
Dogs go to heaven. all dogs do go to heaven. Fenry definitely. I mean, is it wrong to say that deck is? I know there are people who are like, "Oh,
is it like dead, or are people coping?"
I feel like if you only play this deck if you're like a Fenry lover, because you're not doing anything you were before. I don't know, Mario. Have you like played or tested with any idea of this?
We've tested with some of the 2.5 post Banlist stuff. Fenrir Lugamon has not touched our table yet. We don't know how to build it.
Right.
So right now we're in the crafting phase because it's like, okay, so you gotta play your one BT17 one, that's fine. But like, which other Fenrir do you play? And if we go to the old one, we have to build our deck to compensate for the old one's effects again, which we haven't really done since before BT17. And if you play the new one, like, why are you playing the new one? So it's just,
it's a weird spot right now for sure, the deck.
So we've not found the sauce on this. We're going through other stuff right now, but not Lugamon yet. That's okay. We'll take a break. It's fine. No big.
The dog did need a break. And speaking about all dogs go to heaven, dogs need a break. We finally got our wishes. Praise Yggdrasil. I am extremely happy. Mirage, although I wanted to see the motherfucker banned, I am glad he's finally at 1. I don't think I've ever hated a card more than I hated Mirage. Like one singular card. I've hated a lot of cards in my time, but Mirage is probably the one I've hated the most. I'm so glad that he's gone. That's all I can say. I have no good words for Mirage. Farewell, good riddance, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Stay in the grave forever. I hope one day you do go to 0 because I never want to see you again. Yeah.
I wish it went to 0. I really do. The whole problem with the card is that some decks cannot play around MirageGaogamon. If it hits the board, some decks pretty much lose almost immediately. And if your deck can recover from it somehow, it's like, LOL, here's my second copy.
Right.
And, but it gets rid of that. Just 1 Mirage is annoying, 2 Mirage is just GG's. Go to next game type of thing.
And if they see a third, oh my god, I've seen it happen.
Yep,
I've seen people do that. I was like, yo, why you do all that for?
When Galaxy was in its early days and they were literally Galaxy Mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so easy to pop out 3.
It's not hard. It's too easy. 1 copy is fine. Yeah, like it should be 0, but 1 is fine. What I will say, MirageGaogamon is sort of kind of one of my decks. I've more recently interpreted Galaxy over Mirage because Galaxy is just more fun than Mirage is. But I was briefly cooking for a bit on Sunday with 4 BT13 Mirage, 1 BT11 Mirage. And it really, I really brought it back to like a burst mode OTK type thing. And like BT13 isn't terrible because everyone plays Tamers now.
Yep.
So you're always getting value from it. It's not that great, but like, you know, I still had a game in testing where like I brought the opponent from like 5 to nothing just by setting up a few Thomases and, you know, stuff like that. And it's just, burst mode is still a really good card.
For sure. Oh, hands down. People say Mirage is dead. And I'm like, it's fair. It's not dead.
I'll gladly take OTK and Mirage over the freaking shenanigans it turned into at the end. But I could see it also just being a Hexablau focused deck as well with the 1 Mirage. And that could also be annoying to deal with too. You just do the same shenanigans and just go up, going Hexablau every turn. And then once you find that 1 Mirage, you just go Mirage.
See, but so here's like my problem with Mirage. It would have been, so I talked about this. I made a video called something about Barbamon. I don't even remember what Barbamon's design flaws or some shit. And Barbamon doesn't facilitate any of his effects in a good way. Barbamon gives your opponent choice, and then it has conditions. So it's easy to get cucked out of Barbamon's effects. But Mirage is just like, hey, draw a card. Hey, draw a card. Hey, when you draw a card, I gain a memory. Hey, I'm going to Digivolve into BT11. I'm going to either bounce your Digimon or your security to hand, and then I'm going to gain memory anyways. So the core game mechanic of Digimon, number 1, is memory gauge, but number 2 is drawing. Because unlike other card games where you draw once per turn and then you drop some searchers and maybe you try to search, Digimon is literally Digivolve, draw, Digivolve, draw. You're always keeping hand parity. You're never losing card economy. Why did this motherfucker take advantage of having so many cards in your hand for no work involved? I always hated that about Mirage. I always wish his threshold was different. I think if he was for every 5 cards in hand, it would have been fairer. So then what is it? BT 16 Gaogamon would have been like, if you have 10 or more in hand, would have been fine. Because the way it stands, if you go turn 3 and you're keeping parity, you've given Mirage the game, so to say. With BT13 Mirage, all right, cool. Bounce your Tamer back, so I get to set you back. I'm not going to gain a ton of memory, but I am going to play it on my own Thomas. And then, obviously it has Evade, which I think is really cool on that card in particular to have. I always thought BT13 Mirage was cool, but obviously overshadowed by BT11. But then, yes, if you want to play that Mirage OTK style of deck, it's right up your alley. People talk about, I got to put my Mirage deck down because I can't use BT11 anymore. It's like that Tony Stark meme where it's like, if you're nothing without, if you're nothing without it, then you shouldn't have it at all, so to say. I'm like, that's how I feel when it comes to these Mirage players. I'm like, you can get over yourself.
Mario, since you've already been testing with the one, have you tried the OG Mirage from back then that had the memory gain for evoing?
Nope. Just 4 BT13, 1 BT11, 1 Hexablau, just a round attack, and 3 burst modes. None of that.
Gotcha.
You know, after playing so many MirageGaogamon games, like the fact that we live in a world now where aces exist, but Mirage is really cool because when you evolve it, you're either going to bounce security if they have nothing, which is stupid, or you're going to bounce the card that will turn into the ace.
Yeah.
And, and then now we even live in a world like in testing yesterday. You know, we have level 7 aces. These exist now. So evolve into your Mirage, you know, whatever. You can't bounce the 5 because it's a 6, but you just burst mode. You bounce the 6, can't ace you anymore, and then you just win the game. Like, Mirage does not care about anything.
It never did.
Once that train is going, it'll just kill you.
Yeah,
that's it.
I always hated that about him. So I'm glad that he's been brought down a notch.
Well deserved. Well, yeah,
100%.
All dogs do go to heaven. Other hits. Agunimon and Lobomon. Promo Agunimon and Lobomon. This to me was like if we hit one, we gotta hit both type hit. And in my opinion, it wasn't Lobomon that got the hit, it was Agunimon that got the hit because of Ancient Gray and just the way that the when attacking works compared to the when digivolving. You could just raise Agunimon, swing, go, do shenanigans. But alternatively, you could also just abuse Takuya Koji, tuck your Goonies under, and then say, hey, I'm still gonna warp because you have your BT 17 pieces. But then I get to reduce I would do it for 3, but I actually get to reduce my cost. And I can do it for 1 or 3 and keep my turn if I have like Analog Youth or just depending on like the style of deck you played. To me personally, Ancient Gray and Ancient Garu were always in a weird spot because it's that loop, right? And we know that if there's one thing that Bandai hates, it's a motherfucking loop, as evidenced by our hits. And Ancient Gray and Ancient Garu can create a loop that's just keeps going turn after turn. So I knew they weren't going to hit Ancient Gray and Ancient Garu as much as I hate Ancient Garu. But the Lobomon and Agunimon hit, I'm okay with. It was a low-key wish list hit for me, only because sometimes those combos get out of hand. They become stupid, and it's just like, why do I even bother? So now things become a little bit fair again. It's all about making things fair. I think that's what people don't understand about the Mario. I have a question for you, since it came to my mind, especially because you played Yu-Gi-Oh! A ban list, like what do you think a ban list should do? What is the purpose of bringing out a ban list and trying to address the meta?
The ban list should fix the problems that the game or current meta has created. The ban list will also be used as a tool to definitely move product, move sets, which they will never say.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? They did say the reverse when they did the preemptive Anubis Monopokemon hit. They did the reverse, and they said, we know this is going to hurt our sales. We apologize, but we cannot put you guys through this, which I really respected. That was W Bandai move. That was great. But like, you should be allowing new decks to thrive, killing old decks. And I think we have a really good limelight to see this under, because we have, for example, let's just use new Lugamon cards. Why the hell would you play the new Lugamon cards from BT20 when the ones from BT17 just completely overshadow them? Like, it's not even close. Or, you know, let's say Purple Hybrid, Lugamon, Mirage is all still running around. BT21 comes out, we get all these brand new adventure cards, all these brand new hero cards, all these brand new Link cards. But you're still getting turn 2'd by Lugamon.
Yep.
Like, how is that good for anyone? How is it good for sales for those future sets? And how is it good for player-based morale? Because some guys just want to play, you know what? Oh, my heroes! Let's play all the heroes in one deck. And then Purple Hybrid comes and it's just like, nope. See ya. Like, ban lists have to fix problems, which this ban list did fix a handful of problems, which is really cool. I'm going to throw in one more comment and then I'm going to pass the torch to someone else. As a biased red hybrid Ancient Greymon enthusiast and enjoyer,
It hurts your soul a little bit.
this was the list. This was the hit on the list that I disliked the most. I was fine with everything else. The Stingmon hit was like, okay. But I took direct insult to the Agunimon hit. Like, I just, and I was never the guy that would, unless I had absolutely no choice, where I would promote my Flamemon, evolve my promo Agunimon, and swing for the 3 checks. Because I always thought that was just terrible. Because if you hit some tamers or whatever, you're killing yourself. Just to get off, 3 cheeky damage like that? It's BS. Why would you do that, right? But what's really valued for me was the reduced cost of evolution, which was really cool. So am I a little bit salty? I am. Their justification makes sense in the sense that why would you play Emperor Greymon when you can just play Ancient Greymon? Like, the two aren't even on the same scale. Just like comparing the BT17 Lugamon stuff to BT20 Lugamon stuff. Not on the same scale, right? But I also think it's a future-proofing card design move, because let's say BT25 comes around and they want to print new Ancient Greymons and new Ancient Garurumons. Well, all of a sudden, do we keep this card at 4 and then they release some new Ancients that all of a sudden you can just do turn 2 and win the game? That would be bad from a design perspective. Right. So I think that while this is a good hit to allow the other red and blue hybrid archetypes to thrive a little bit, and while I take offense to it personally, I do believe that it's going to have a good future-proofing aspect to this hit. Yeah, I rambled. Yeah. But that's there you go.
All we do is ramble here on pod.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I
100% agree on everything you said. Usually what happens is like, especially since you played Yu-Gi-Oh! Too, a lot of old cards are accidentally broken when it comes down the line. Now, this is one of the examples of one of those cards that was just like, this is kind of busted nowadays. Back then, it was fine card, but now it's like, oof, So I'm not too surprised to see them eventually. I didn't know they're going to get hit now, but I knew eventually they will probably get touched up.
Yeah, for sure. In talking about loops, Kuzuhamon, crazy hit. Didn't expect that. Kind of out of left field. Makes sense. I didn't realize. For disclaimer, I've never had.
Bandai really does not like loop decks.
Right.
And that was already a thing, the Tau loop.
You made a comment, Danny, and you were like, why would Bandai hit a deck that hasn't performed over here yet? And I was like, yeah, generally they don't.
Yeah, because I was surprised about it.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, there was cross 4, yeah. Kuzuha, I definitely didn't expect. I had never had Tau loop played against me, so I honestly had no idea how the deck worked. And the first time that somebody would play it against me, I was just going to sit there and watch. I was going to sit there and watch all the damage happen live, and then be like, so that's why this needs to be hit. With that being said, I was impartial to whatever the deck did. It didn't seem to me like it was like this overbearing thing, but I know Ruin Mode itself is a very toxic card. So I can understand that looping Ruin Modes is a toxic fucking thing. Kuzuha, however, I just didn't realize she was that big a play enabler. I didn't realize she was the play enabler for Tau loop. So
yeah, it was the go-to, because then you activate the option and you play out the Tau mount from underneath and you just keep going.
And then Tau, what does Tau like, return or use an option card? So you use the Digi-Evolution plugin? I don't know what it does. I guess
sure, something like that. I don't remember.
And then give you level 6 and
you play the Talmon, you go into the Kuzuha, affect the Kuzuha, activate an option, then you can play was a level 5 or lower. So then you play the Talmon and then you just keep on going.
Yeah, you use a level 5 or lower, Digivolve again, then you can go into Ruin. Okay, got it. Makes sense. Yeah, that's a loop. we know they don't like loops. Are there any loops left in the game? Any like even like theoretical loops, so to say, that would be like worthy of hits? I guess not.
Hey, you remember back in the day, the Black War Greymon Zudamon loop thing that you just get infinite memory?
What about the Waymon one? There was one with Waymon. I don't remember what the fuck it did.
That's part of it. I believe that's the one that's part of it. Yeah. Nah, there's still the also the War Siegemon plus the Grand Scissors.
Dimension Scissors. Yeah,
that was stupid.
I have maybe a bit of a hot take on this. And by the way, the irony is not lost to me that Kazuhamon, being a fox, aka being a dog, was also hit.
All dogs go to heaven.
And I went to the pound on this list. I
gotta go.
I guess. I don't think Kazuhamon was the correct hit. I think green plugin would have been the better
the Digivolution
hit.
card, right?
So that was my logic as well. If they were going to hit Tau Loop, I figured they would hit the plugin because the plugin is what enables all the shenanigans. It's really what enables all the shenanigans because you just Digivolve for free.
Like if you need no further evidence, go watch like the 3rd, 4th Worlds game.
Yeah.
Where the Sakuyamon player, without Kazuhamon, by the way, just played the game while the other guy did not play the game for 2 games. All without Kazuhamon, all with just green plugin, Sakuyamon Ruin Mode stuff. So like, I get it, because Kazuhamon pops out the Tau, you do it all over again, blah, 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 whatever, okay, sure. But like, green plugin. And then you'll say, maybe someone in the comments will say, but Mario, if you hit green plugin, you can never play Sakuyamon ever again. To my response would be though, okay, but you won't be playing the game anyway if a Sakuyamon player is across the table from you and they're green plugging you all the time. So I think it's a bit, that's why I think it's a little bit of a hot take, because if you kill green plugin, you kill basically pretty much everything.
Yeah, it does kind of tie that deck together.
I know you can use the yellow scrambles with some of their effects, so you can still get the same thing, except a little different. It's just not as free, I guess.
It's just, it's not as free. It ain't no green plugin.
Yeah. Because I was watching the guy in round 1 doing a whole bunch of stuff with that card. I was like, Jesus Christ, this gets out of hand. Free Voltron? Damn.
Yeah.
Because plugin just lets you Digivolve. It's any Digimon and reduce that cost by 3, right? It doesn't matter what the color is.
Just, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. That was my initial take. I thought they might have hit Digi-Evolution plugin, but I also just didn't think they were going to hit Tau Loop yet until, I don't know, shit happens. But they said, no. Like you said, all dogs go to heaven. All dogs, foxes,
the main theme. That might be the title
family.
Of this video.
Right. You know what? I'm writing it down now. All dogs go to heaven.
You might get copyrighted, so you might need you might not be able to say that as a title.
Let's see. Does Imperial have a dog in it? I guess not. That's why they didn't get hit that bad. They got a bug and a big-headed mammal, right?
They got a bug.
No, sorry. Somebody's going to correct me. What is Vmon? Vmon is a fucking...
Definitely not a mammal. Reptile?
Is he a reptile?
I think he's technically
a mini dragon.
Yeah.
Is a dragon at all part of the dog family?
No.
No.
So that's why Imperial skirted this ban list. That's probably the thing I'm most surprised about. Stingmon is such a fucking left park hit. Apparently, Stingmon was hit because JP lists were running this at like obnoxious amounts.
Yeah.
But like,
good card. It's still a good card, even though we're saying it's out of less field. It's still a pretty good card. It's a free, like, it's not once per turn draw. That's what's really good about it. You can draw like 4 or 5 cards in a turn because of it.
Let me put it this way. I personally wanted a Davison Can hit, and many people that I spoke to
We all do.
Well, no, some people wanted the memory gaining champions instead. I would have been fine with either, but I preferred Davison Ken. So this doesn't fulfill either side's wishes, and neither side is happy at the end of it. So, Stingmon.
This feels like the original APOC hit where they hit up like a bunch of other cards that didn't do anything to the deck. This was going to happen with Imperial.
I get it, because when you can attack 5 times in a turn, drawing 5 cards, okay. But what? Now you're just going to draw maybe half as many cards? Half of a lot is still a lot, kind of. Like, I get it, but I don't get it. Like, Imperial, we tested Imperial. Imperial is still fine. Like, it's still fine. It's like they didn't touch it at all.
Yep.
Yeah, for like, at least every like North American list I normally see, it's like that Stingmon is maybe a 2 of at times. Some of them don't even play it, so that's why I was like, all right, like, all right, Imperial's the same still. Like, it don't matter.
I think Dan Vang is secretly counting his blessings that it was Stingmon and not anything else.
Oh yeah,
You know what? That's what it
100%
was.
he is.
Dan Vang with
Dan Vang had to connect.
with his Bandai ins, he was like, yo, listen, here's the card that we play. This is the really busted card. This is what you need to hit. Dan Vang, I blame you.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. Obviously Imperial is one of the top dogs of the meta. That's undoubtedly, undeniably a fact. What I wish they did is I wish they dusted Imperial up the way they dusted up on previous lists, because they gave Imperial like one hit, but you definitely could have like, they didn't even like slap it on the wrist. They just like, I don't know. They just handed it a get out of jail free card. No, they were like, here's a get out of jail free card. Just show this to the clerk on your way out and have fun. And it's like, what about all these decks in the past that you were like, all right, cool. We're going to hit like 2 or 3. Like for example, Purple Hybrid. You know what? That's what it was. It wasn't Purple Hybrid level in recent tournaments. So they were like, you can get away with this. It's okay. Purple Hybrid, we saw what that did. Yeah, you're getting slapped up, buddy. You're getting slapped up, frisked down on the way out. And good luck when you get out there in the real world. Like that's what happened to Purple Hybrid. I wish it was Davis and Ken.
Me too.
We all do. We all secretly do.
To explain the logic on Davis and Ken for anybody who might be thinking about like the other thing, the memory gaining champions, here's the issue. We watched a game at Worlds where Davis and Kens were kept off of the board and the Imperial player could not play the game. Now, yes, I know they were staring down a big bad Galacticmon, blah, blah, blah. But let's look at what Davis and Ken does. Gives you a rookie. When you Digivolve, you get to gain a memory. And if you DNA, you get to strip any 3 sources of your choosing from any Digimon on the board. And those 3 sources can be from any 3 Digimon. That's really fucking good. That would have been great against Galactic because you can strip away their protection. Oh, wait, but you can't because you don't have your Tamer on board, right? And somebody said to me, well, I've won games without Davis and Ken. Sure, I'm sure you have. And I'm not disputing that you can't win games without Davis and Ken. I just don't want you to fucking smack me in the face by turn 3 and then say GG next turn. That's what I want. You can play your memory gaining champions and maybe pull back to 1, but you're not getting your double swing off of Imperialdramon that turn. And then going into a dragon mode and end turn and say, if you use that training boost, GG, or say, I'll put this Primogenitor on board and I hope you don't remove me because not only do I have the chance to partition, but I will also Digivolve and prevent my removal and bounce your shit away. Like,
I actually, that was my other Imperial hit. Like, I really wanted the Tamer hit, but I also wanted Primogenitor hit. That card is
bonkers.
That card is so good.
Primogenitor is nasty work.
Stingmon's the problem, so whatever.
Yeah, right. Stingmon's the problem. I'm not like afraid of Imperial, but like ever since I started playing this game, I started playing back in BT4. Imperial's always been a fucking pain in my ass, and Imperial always skirted the fucking ban list. So like this doesn't surprise me like the least bit of the imagination. It doesn't surprise me at all.
When you think about it, they really don't get hit ever. They always think it's fine, and it's just like, damn. I guess. I mean. Like that's tough.
Back in BT3, you had old jamming Imperial that was literally swing jamming XV, Digivolve into Imperialdramon, unsuspend, swing jamming, go into Imperial Dragon mode, unsuspend, swing again, jamming, and then Blasomni for game, and then you're dead. And then we got to BT8 where it was swing XV jamming, DNA into Imperialdramon, swing jamming, bottom deck your blocker that was standing in my way, Digivolve into Dragon mode, spit out 2 bodies, and then I get to do it again next turn, GG. And now we're Digivolve into Imperialdramon, stun your board, strip your sources, gain back memory, swing jamming, drop Primogenitor, Digivolve into this. If you remove me, I spit out bodies and I get to do shit to your board. Next turn, GG. Like, what the fuck?
How dare you use a training to Digivolve too? Wow. Don't forget that part. Don't forget about that part.
Unreal, man. Unreal.
I hate this damn dragon. This damn insect fusion dragon ass motherfucker. All dogs have went to heaven, and I'm glad. Let's raise our pitchforks for the dragons, not name Examon. All right, let's raise the pitchfork.
No heavy metal Dramon either.
No heavy metal Dramon either. Right. We only want to see the fusion bug dragon hit.
I might be coping really hard right now, but we were testing heavy metal.
Heavy metal feels pretty good.
I was testing heavy metal. Like, well, that deck is just so fun. Especially
really
now
is.
that you're not getting turned 3 by Purple Hybrid. It's also really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's great. Oh, man. I will say that deck had a really good matchup against Mirage because you didn't have a hand.
You had no cards.
Right.
By the time they get you to like, 4 cards, you were already at 0. It's like, oh, you only gain 1 memory now? That's great.
Yeah.
Next turn, I'll trash it all anyways.
Oh, my god.
And then the
last thing's the band pair.
Yeah, the last thing. So let's preface this with half of me. No, not even half. I would say like
I get why they did it, but at the same time, it wasn't necessary anymore.
25% of me kind of expected this, and 75% didn't, because they didn't hit it the last time. And since the last time they bought out the ban list, they have way more things that could run over. Like we're in a, so to say, a high DP meta. Everything just gets really fucking big, and especially with stuff like Jedi's House and whatever the other one is coming out, you can get really fucking big. So running over a mother didn't seem like it was that big a problem, but they decided that Shoto Mother is a problem. And now you cannot play those 2 cards in the same deck. I, for one, I don't care. I'm impartial towards the hit, but I am happy that they're using restricted pairs in this way. We only saw restricted pairs in the past as a way to fix a loop and an uninteracted intention, which generally is what, a restricted pair would do. But now, instead of saying, all right, well, Shoto's banned, or we're going to ban Mother and bring out a new one. No, you just can't play these 2 cards together, which would have fixed a lot of problems in the past. Now they do it for this. It was okay. I like it. I'm okay with it. What about you guys?
I'm personally fine with it. I think it's a good idea. I think that my reasoning for this, again, is kind of like a future-proofing thing. Because right now, like, it isn't doing that much. And in BT21, a 15k Mother D Reaper blocker is not going to bother you one bit or the other. But what I think might happen in the future is we're just going to get better cards that you can play in a deck like Shoto Mother control. And then it'll make that combo a lot more degenerate. I think it's more of a, let's get rid of this now so nothing can happen in the future where this actually becomes an uninteractable deck to deal with if they print the wrong card to supplement it. Because right now, like, no one's playing it. Well, that's not true. Some people are playing it. Some people are even topping with it very rarely. But nowhere near the scale of everything else that got on the ban list. Really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. It became niche. Like it was like a fad when at first people realized you could do that, and like everybody was doing the black hybrid version, the ace version. Even me, who did it with straight D Reaper.
What'd you call it? Street D Reaper?
I said straight. It's like
I thought you said street. I was like, what the fuck made it street? Shoto and Mother on the streets, mugging people down.
Oh man, that comment could have gone a lesson real quick with that. But anyways, yeah. So at this point, and then like it fell off, right? And it just felt like people weren't doing as much, and there was so many more outs to it nowadays. Like you can, like Mario said, you get 15k real easy nowadays, and so that's why I was just surprised they did it. Again, it was an uninteractive, like they were not expecting that to be a thing, so I could see why they decided to hit it, and everything else definitely makes sense after that. But it's whatever at this point.
Yeah, I'm not butthurt over it. It's kind of whatever. So that's
we have a Discord player who strictly plays like
Ace
Mother
Con.
Shoto, Ace Con.
Mother Shoto, Ace Con.
I wonder what she's going to do now.
Can't abuse those shenanigans anymore. Now you gotta actually digivolve.
No. Yeah.
So that's everything that our ban list was. Mario, you alluded earlier, you said it fixed some things. Obviously, we talked about some things. What other things did the ban list not fix in your eye?
I will
The
say
world's winner.
Okay, I gotta get there. But
Sorry, go ahead.
it did slap some decks on the wrist, and it did knock out a couple other decks, which is very nice to see. It did not fix the general direction in the game that it's moving towards. But did I expect that on a ban list? No, never. So, moving along, Galaxy, hello. I've become a huge Galaxy fan. Like, I love the deck. I've been playing it for like 3 months straight. And let me tell you, Koen Sayo is one of the most degenerate, stupid, obnoxious tamers that could have been fixed by just printing Evolve into a Night Fang or Light Claw card. But they left it generic for some reason. And it's one of the whole reasons that could even exist in the first place. So that's a problem. Ruin mode. Cards like Ruin mode that say your opponent can't play the game really shouldn't exist. But I wasn't expecting that. Ruin was a secret rare, blah, 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 whatever. Something that kind of sort of surprises me a little bit is not touching the Cerberus X engine, because that engine is really strong. You know, I thought they'd hit it, but I guess we live in a world where Cerberus X wasn't doing as much as Purple Hybrid, as Lugamon, as Mirage, as Imperial, as Sakuyamon, as Galaxy. So I think that's skirted away from the list. They probably should hit something in Demon Lords, because that deck kind of becomes uninteractable sometimes. That's annoying. I had a couple other points planned as well, and they've kind of slipped my brain. And I know it hasn't really been talked about as well, but they didn't take anything off of this ban list. And I'm a little bit biased because they hit 2 hybrids and didn't give me Jet Sylphie back to 4, which makes me a little sad. But like, you know,
Greymon X.
Greymon X, Dora Greymon, you know, I get it. Like, we just got off Mon support and we're getting more off Mon support B22, you know, whatever. Like, I don't know. I think there are cards that aren't really as problematic as other cards anymore. But yeah, there's a whole slew of things they could have hit but didn't. And now we're gonna F around and find out.
That's a fact. So you said the game's heading in a direction. Now, I know you made a video a few weeks ago that was called "The Ban List Won't Save Digimon." I subsequently saw on Reddit a whole Reddit thread dedicated to why is this guy doing posting?
Oh yeah,
I remember that too. Yeah,
which was fucking funny reading it.
Some of it was just completely wow. Wrong.
So, but you raised a lot of good points in the video that I think people didn't really, for some reason. All right. So let me preface with this. When I got into the card game, there are a few content creators I've watched since the beginning of time. The one thing I've never associated Mario with is Doom posting. I see the Doom posters. Y'all are on Facebook. I see you guys. You're the real Doom posters. Whenever, I mean, we talk shit on Bandai a lot. All right, let's be real. Dan, Mike, and I are very critical of Bandai. You're critical of Bandai. I would say there aren't many other creators who are as critical of Bandai. I would personally say, and I know that comes from a place of let me not fall out of Bandai's good graces, and try to leave myself open for that. But when criticism is needed, it is needed. But then when kudos is to be given, we give kudos, right? I think the recent Card Game Fest was one of the biggest things, like half and halves. Like half of it was fantastic and half of it was just, all right, you could have done better, but give you slack because it was a big improvement from last year. Mm-hmm. And your video was really alluding to what I think a lot of people have trouble articulating when it comes to their dislike for Digimon. a lot of people say like, oh, the game is like, it's been power crept to all hell and it's so sped up and blah, blah, blah. But like, we're 5 years into the game. A lot of that is to be expected. But what is it? So with that being expected, like, what is it that you really don't like? And I don't think a lot of people are able to articulate that well, but I think in that video you did. So first, before we delve into that and the direction of the game, well, I guess that kind of feeds into it. Can you, for our listeners and viewers, explain the point of the video you made, why the Banlist won't save Digimon, and what direction you think the game is heading in, why you were inclined to do that in the first place?
Sure. So I'm not going to go into the whole song and dance that I went to on the video. I will say that if there's anyone watching this that has not watched this video, you should go on my channel and you should watch this video. It's about 3 weeks old at this point, right around there. You'll find it.
We'll link it in the description down below.
There you go.
Editor, remind me.
I fell in love with Digimon when the game came out. As I mentioned when the podcast started today, big fan of the initial features of the game. Security mattered. Memory gauge mattered. The games were very back and forth. There wasn't any interaction per se, which I think has a whole different skill on its own. Because if you make the wrong choice and you get punished for it, there are no second chances. There's no hand trap that can save you. There's no mirror force that you can flip over and all of a sudden you're safe. That stuff doesn't exist. So if you make that mistake, if you promote your stack prematurely and it dies because your opponent outplays you with a couple hammer sparks, that's it. You've lost the game because you didn't consider what the opponent could do to punish me. And it's those kind of microtransactions that made me really fall in love with the game. It was slow, no real OTKs, none of this stuff. And I think this extended all the way till Lord Nightmon, and I think this even extended to a bit to Gobubond, Agubond, before Ice Wall. Fuck that card. Anyway, and then things happened. The game changed. We saw hybrid cards in BT7 that ignored the main Digivolving rule. It was all about building your Digimon up. And now effectively, that was a power creep on its own because you could just evolve your tamers. All of a sudden, they weren't just these cards on the board that did very little or nothing once they were on the board. They're not just taking up real estate anymore. You can actually use them for other intended purposes, which is cool, but power creeping. Then we got BT9 with the X antibodies. Yeah. And then we got BT14 with Fenrirlugamon. Okay. And then we got freaking Anubismon, and then we got Pokemon, and then we got BT17. Oh, sorry, we got BT16 first, which was Magna X and Imperialdramon and Shenanigans. And it's continued to evolve to a point where the things that I fell in love with the game with don't matter. Some decks completely avoid the memory gauge or manipulate it in such a way where it doesn't matter what you do, you might as well have manipulated the memory gauge. Then you have some decks that don't care about security because they just blow it all away. Or they say, I will basically ignore security. Yep. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Medusamon that we're getting in 21 has that new keyword that says,
I'm so excited for it.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
It looks so fun. I'm excited
looks
for it.
So insane.
That's a conversation for a different day.
For sure.
And then all these micro interactions, these back and forths that existed in the game don't exist anymore. When you have a deck like Purple Hybrid that can just kill your opponent, how are you going to microtransact with that? You cannot. They're just going to kill you. And someone in the comments might say, but Mario, aces exist. They sure do, but they come with their own flaws. For example, only when you attack can you activate an ace? Forget it. MirageGaogamon will blow you back to the hand. freaking Lugamon will just kill your board. You can't ace that, right? So like all this interaction they have isn't really interaction because you can kind of avoid it. Or better yet, you bait your opponent into it and then you punish it because your deck can just do that too, probably.
Yep.
So it's like not the best interaction there is. We need more cards like Binding Crush. That's a whole different topic, but I like Binding Crush. You know, very limited use, of course, and it's a one-time thing, but it's really cool. It just does what it does, and most decks, say half the decks, play Digimon, to which could trigger a Binding Crush. So you have to actively think about it, because you bring back the Leviamon, you're dead, probably, if you do it at the wrong time. So while there are some cool things that exist, the whole reason for me that the game was intriguing when the game came out, it doesn't exist per se anymore. It's so far gone to when you had games that were like 20 turns long and you could go have a back and forth. It was more of a test of skill, where now it's a test of, did I open my turn 2 Lugamon combo? Cool. And that's kind of the premise of the whole video. And no ban list can single-handedly fix this. Because let's just say, for example, they do hit a lot of decks, which, granted, this was the biggest ban list I think this game has had yet. I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was, yes.
The second one, I think, was the one they did the Anubis.
The previous one.
Yeah. So I think that's a great thing. However, it's not without consequence, because you have other decks that just don't care. Like Galaxy, Sakuyamon, Red Purple Imperial, regular Imperial, the top 4 of Worlds, they don't care.
Yep.
They really don't care. They don't care about the ban list that just happened, let alone your opponents and how they feel about it, right? And then BT21 is going to come out. And while I'm excited for the adventure cards, and I think they're really cool, they are also really powerful. Like, you're going to be able to do some dumb shit.
Shenanigans. Some shenanigans for sure.
We're getting ready to print the proxies and just test. Because innovation now is going to take the forefront in Digimon, now that we're not Japan sloppy seconds anymore. And I think that's I think that's a great thing. Like, it's going to be a great thing for us creators, and a great thing for people that, you know what, they can say, I topped the first event of BT21 in the world with this deck. I was the one that made this deck.
Yes.
Something that rarely happens nowadays. And while that's cool, that doesn't ignore the fact that Adventure is still going to be probably broken. I read Medusabon. That card's stupid. I read Gaiamon. That's a really freaking good payoff for that Link stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh my god. And
absolutely.
They just revealed a Link, I think, today. That gives it protection.
With the protection. Yep.
Like, okay, everything gets protection. God forbid. So like, yes, they hit some problems on the ban list, but it's not going to fix the direction in which the game is going. We're still going to have to generate OTKs that you can't interact with, and you're going to sit there across the table like the 4th place player at Worlds did, like the 2nd place player at Worlds did. Like, and me personally, I like playing the game. I don't like just sitting there, even in testing, when my opponent in testing is just like, I'm just going to combo off here. And it's like, okay, I'm going to go do some work while you do that real quick, okay? Oh, I'm dead? Great, let me just shuffle my cards. Like, that to me just isn't fun.
Right.
I think that's my speech. That's the really short form of that video, and the reaction video I made to that Reddit post, which was hilarious. But what do you guys think? You think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm right?
I'll let Dan go first.
I think it's a mixture of everything. You know what I'm saying? Because I played the game since day one as well, so I understand that skill aspect, and I definitely feel like the game has lost that skill gap, where you're basically at a point of, did I see A, B, and C cards? Yes, I win. No, I lost because my opponent saw that. I think that's the unfortunate part. And also just the fact that the game is just going the way the game is going. And I think we have to accept that if we still want to play the game. And that's also a thing I'm okay with, I guess, at this point, because I still enjoy playing the game. It's just certain things still suck about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I agree on that aspect. Like, I feel like a lot of my losses now is not even just because I got skill gapped. It was because I got high rolled. Like, I watched Gaogamon high roll me, and I know no offense to him, I'm like, I don't know if you're really that good, or it's just Gaogamon just popping off. You know what I'm saying? Like is there a difference? Can you play a deck that's, you know, doesn't do all that, and can you still win? And like, then I'll know for sure, like, all right, you're pretty good at the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, Purple High returned to a deck where it was just like, I thought at first it had a skill gap to it, because it was like, oh, you gotta do combos, you gotta do, and then it became to the point where it's just like, it wasn't. It was just like, you just follow everybody. And you saw the last 3-4 ulti cuts, whatever it was, legit all purple hybrid decks were all cookie cutter. I was like, I don't know if you're good, or are you just following the formula as a race set? You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about a lot of the decks in today's game. And I think something we're also missing that you kind of semi-mentioned, I think we need like MSTs in the game for options, because you have all these trainings that you can't do anything about on board, or scrambles, memory boost. The only card you can interact with is Justimon Ace now, and a option from Lucemon that no one's ever gonna play unless you play the dumbass Lucemon deck. And if you are, you're trying to lose.
You're trying to lose.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't trying to win. You just trying to be cool and play Lucemon. Like, be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to the one dude that made top 16 with it in one of the ulti cups. But besides him, like, that deck is just.
The deck is actively working against itself in every facet of the imagination.
We need, if the game is going to be the way the game's currently going, we need different types of interactions. And unfortunately, we might need hand traps. Like, that's not just aces. Because like, what do you do when you, like I said, what do you do when they go Taki and just blow your shit up? You just do nothing outside of the Banlist hitting it.
You kind of reminded me of something, and I just want to interject real quick. We're not saying that the Digimon trading card game has zero skill, because that is false.
No.
There are still some interactions that can separate someone that might go X2 to go X1 or X3. There are 100%. Still little things. Yes, you memorize your combos. Those are cookie cutter. That's just the way it is right now. But you will occasionally maybe have to do something outside the norm. It is the ability to think of that might make the difference. Maybe, from you topping an event and you not topping an event. And I actually think that the biggest skill in Digimon right now is not the gameplay per se, but really the deck building.
Yep.
Your choices. Yep. I
wonder where we heard that from.
I 100% agree on that.
Especially now, especially in a post-unification world, you're really going to see it now more than ever. Like, I'm not surprised that Galaxy deck won Worlds the way it was built, because that deck had something for everything. Like, that was a genuinely well-constructed deck. So I think that going into the future, there's a lot of skill. There's always been skill at deck building, but I think that skill now can also help you translate a top versus not a top.
Right.
You know, do you consider putting in cards that might be a silver bullet in certain matchups that you will lose to otherwise? Or do you just go and say, you know what, I'm going to max out on my combo, my consistency pieces, I'm going to roll the dice and have a good day?
Yep.
It's all RNG and it's all whatever, but little minute deck building differences can skill cap other people that do not have that ability, that maybe just follow decks that say I upload, or that you upload, or that anyone else uploads. You're not being an innovator at that point. You're not critically thinking. You're actually just copying and pasting. So you miss that fundamental part of the creative process, which is why I never watch deck profiles for anyone. I make my own decks, and I just go to town. And it's going to be really fun to see in the future now with the unification and all that. But yeah, I just want to interject that.
No, you're good. I also will say that I think another big skill besides that is your choices in game. Like, you go memory boost, you search your top 3, and you need a piece, but you might need another piece that you're counting in your head. I only got 2 of it. I'm bottom decking this. Can I see the other one that's actually an important piece? I think those are, like, in today's game, more important on how you manage your resources versus like the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So there was a Reddit post a couple days ago.
Oh god, another one.
Another one. This one was good though. This one was good. This person would really enjoy the red purple Imperial, the virus Imperial art by Demizu Posca, which I fucking love. And then this person commented and said, "Love the card. It is great. From a game design perspective, however, horrible design. Coming from somebody who plays the deck, Lingering Floodgates are just really bad designs in general, but generally in a game that's getting ever so faster with every set." So I asked them to elaborate on why Lingering Floodgates are bad, and their response was, take this with a grain of salt. Good game design happens when players feel rewarded for interacting and making good decisions at the right time. Lingering Floodgates often equates to a turn skip, and take that out of the equation completely, even if the body that's providing the floodgate effect is removed. When the game was slower, it made sense for cards like Ruin Mode and Venus to exist, because they countered aggressive playstyles and games potentially had 2 to 3 more turns before the game ended. But with games being so much more explosive now, a turn skip means one of the players basically don't play the game. Some effects are stronger than others and counter different playstyles harder than others. But if the game is fast enough where a player could Tau Loop or Galaxy Climb into something that doesn't let you play the game, it's really no different from Yu-Gi-Oh!, where a player builds an unbreakable board and says, response? At least in Yu-Gi-Oh!, you're not limited to memory and can attempt to break a board without board breakers and kaijus. Digimon isn't like that, nor should it be like that. That comment in conjunction with your 2 videos, Mario, made me realize what people were trying to say when they say they don't like where Digimon's at. And this is what I was saying earlier, that people haven't been able to express this. I haven't seen that expressed. It's all been like some form of like hate and just general like vitriol, when it's like, can you like elaborate? Like, what is making this so unfun? Like, well, Medieval makes it unfun. But why? Well, because I can't play the deck. We'll play around it. But when you bring in the argument and you say, well, this is why Medieval poses a problem, because it's not Medieval itself, it's the idea of cards like Medieval, more cards coming like Medieval, because now it's Medieval, Ruin Mode, I guess, yeah, Venusmon to an extent. Red Purple Imperial, kind of, because that says you can't play Digimon by effects. And then it also has that, it's Tamers by effects too. Oh shit, that's big. I didn't know that. But then also that alterns when a card is removed from security stack, pop a Digimon, which is a pretty fucking big thing. All those types of effects. Mike made a comment when I mentioned this to Mike, and Mike said that those effects are great and they are necessary, just like the person said. But it's a matter of how easy you get into those. Something like Tau Loop that does it with ease and then can do it turn after turn with ease. Not good. No bueno. But when you look at Dragon Links are super strong, relatively speaking, on paper, because Metallic says you can't Digivolve or some shit, and then Volcanic says you can't play or move. And like, yeah, on paper, like those effects are like, wow. But getting into those dragons and doing it consistently isn't that easy, and is way easier said than done. That's why that doesn't just top too often.
You know, throw them in Galaxy.
You throw them in Galaxy, right? So my comment on that is like, I finally get, because we've been talking about like the state of the game on pod basically since we came back from our hiatus. And our general point of view is like the game is fine, but now I finally understand where people are coming from when they say, I don't like where the game is going. I don't like this card, Medieval being a great example. You know, we made a podcast on Medieval, and one of the core things that, you know, the 3 of us, me, Mike, and Dan, hold true to ourselves is, yeah, all right, well, just get better, you know, play around Medieval. But we didn't have, for me personally, reading more, unfortunately, that pod came after or before I read like a bunch of this stuff. So I'm much more enlightened now than I was 3 weeks ago when we made that pod. But now I understand where those arguments come from, and I understand like what the arguments are about. And so with that in mind, it also kind of leads into another topic. One thing Digimon players have went back and forth on for a while. I remember back in the early days of the game, people said these cards are too, what was it? There was an argument on basically archetypes versus generics. I can't remember what it was at the time, but we've grown into a state where everything is too
archetypal.
Both to an extent, because like everything is archetypal, but then you have like Surbax, right? Like Surbax is a super, or let's call it Purple Dog Engine. Purple Dog Engine is super good and generic. Galaxy as a deck is, well, you know,
the whole
Galaxy.
deck is generic.
The whole deck is generic. Just splash in whatever top end you want and get away with it. And there are just a couple other, not too many, but there are a couple other like generically good things. And the constant tug of war in Digimon is, do we make this generic or do we make this archetypal? One of the big things to look at is the fucking fish support, which seems to get everything as we are blue. We are generically good for blue, and we can get splashed in any blue deck, like Hwangkunmon, both EX7 and whatever the fuck the other one was, or whatever cards I'm thinking of. So,
yeah.
Archetypes versus generics. I was the one hit. So going back to what you said, you potentially wanted to see Serb X hit, and in wanting to see Serb X hit, I'm curious to hear like exactly why and what's your thought process on basically that concept of generic versus archetype, how Digimon does with it, and where you think that should kind of lead down.
Okay. Let me tackle this one block at a time.
Do it.
I think Cerberus X does way too many things. Cerberus X should not bring back bodies, kill stuff, inheritable unsuspend. Like, that's a lot for one card. And in tandem with a card like Protoform that will just let you recycle whatever you want from that. You know, it's very antagonizing sometimes to be across the table from that. Because while it's not a loop deck per se, I would say that the purple toolbox, which didn't get hit by the ban list, by the way, and is very fun, and Galaxy are the most... this might flame up your comment section, I'm sorry. They are the most Yu-Gi-Oh-like decks in the Digimon TCG. Because they're all about, how do I get from these cards in my hand to some really big board that's hard to interact with, type of deal. Like, I made a joke with my testing group. I didn't make the joke, but one of my guys said, so a Yu-Gi-Oh deck won Digimon Nationals. That's really cool. I'm like, oh, okay, let's calm down here. So, you know, I think that Digimon has a bad rep of becoming kind of archetypal. Kind of. And this all started with, really, the limelight was cast under the Greymon trading card game, when it seemed like every set you just had, from BT8 since Black War Ray came on, and beyond for the longest time, it was just like, Greymon, 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 Greymon. Like, everywhere you saw, it was topping every tournament always, and it's just like, okay. And then it was Garurumon, 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 Garurumon. Like, okay. But they don't stop. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the adventure cards. That's an archetype.
Of course.
That's
yeah.
an archetype you're gonna play maybe 45 adventure cards in your deck, you know, and you're gonna have a good time with it. Your Lugamon cards are an archetype. Your purple hybrid cards are, I guess, kind of an archetype. I guess hybrids are an archetype. Whatever.
Yeah.
Your MirageGaogamon cards are an archetype. Your Imperial cards are an archetype. Your Alphamon cards are an archetype. Your Dexter Goromon cards are an archetype. However, Digimon has the ability, with some instances, to go past archetypal deck building. A really good example of this is Galaxy. Because, yes, you're going to play your 4 Lunamons and your 4... Chronomons and your Lunamons. Then, of course, you're going to play your 12-ish champions for that archetype. That's 20 cards. And then you're going to play Ko and Sayo. That's 24 cards. And then you might play a couple of the blue ultimates, the Cressimon, I think I'm forgetting the name.
Yep, Crescent,
Well,
Flareamon, I think.
That's only half the deck. The other half of the deck, thanks to what the archetype allows, is whatever you want it to be. Which is annoying to some people, but is also cool from a deck building perspective.
I heavily agree with that.
And you take the generic purple toolbox, like I for my YouTube members, I shared a deck profile with it literally yesterday. Like, it's got Leviamon's in there, it's got Lilithmon Engine in there, it's got freaking Metal Garurumon Ace, the current one, not the soon-to-be broken one, but the current one. And just random shit like that hodgepodge together. You know, people really hate purple in this game, some people, because it's like, I'm just going to sit here while you do your turn for 5 minutes. But that is deck building creativity, right? And it goes past the archetypal norm, which feels like 80-90% of your top cut at any given time. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Has kind of done this too. You know, back in the day, Yu-Gi-Oh! In GOAT format was not really about archetypes. You just hodgepodged your shit together, played a bunch of broken spells, played a bunch of good monsters and good traps, and you said, here's my deck. Let's go. And then this really changed when Glad Beasts came out, because then we got Glad Beasts. Then we got Lightsworns. Love Lightsworns. Then we got freaking Blackwings, which took the meta by storm. And ever since then, you know, a lot of archetypes have been made, and some have been bad, like Koaki Miru never took off, fine, whatever. But you go trash. But you go today, and it's like, okay, the Blue Eyes deck is out. That's an archetype. And you're playing the Ryziel deck. That's definitely an archetype. The Malice deck is most certainly an archetype. So right now, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of in an archetype phase. And really hasn't gone past that. So I actually think that Digimon has a one-up in that area. You know, you can play a deck that's locked to an archetype. And, you know, those might even be the best deck of the format. Fine. But you're not handcuffed. You don't have to play 50 adventure cards in a deck when BT21 comes out. You do have other choices. If you want to go, you know, off archetype, you do have that option, right? It's not super it's not a whole lot of gray area in between, but it is something. But yes, compared to BT 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess that's when it really stopped, you know.
Yeah, probably
archetypes more or less now, because Lord Knight was an archetype basically, then Gobblebond was an archetype, and then Musketeers were an archetype. Hybrids, I think hybrids are just an archetype. Yellow hybrid is an archetype. You can disagree with me if you want, but like, it's the premise. But even back then, it wasn't as bad because you played your yellow hybrid cards or your blue hybrid cards. But what did you play beyond those cards? That really made the difference, right?
Yeah.
And it really locked into place, though, BT9 with X antibody this, X antibody that, Alphamon if you want, you know, whatever. And that's, I think, when everything just kind of changed. But you can call it the better or the worst. I know some people are a big fan of their archetypes. And it's by Digimon's Bandai's design, right? If they print a bunch of Greymon cards and you're a Greymon fan, you will buy the Greymon cards. Or when BT10 came out, if you're a fan of Shoutmon cards, you're going to buy the Shoutmon set because of the Shoutmon cards. Like, it's all intentional by design, of course, but, you know, you still have a little bit of wiggle room to be outside of archetype should you wish. And you can do well in an event by doing so. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I go back and forth. Like, I love archetypes. Because Digimon, I like my Agumon to Digivolve into a Greymon, then Metal Greymon, then War Greymon. That's my thing. That's what I enjoy. But I love purple. I've always loved purple since I got into the game, because purple, I mean, for the longest time, purple was kind of without archetype. Purple was just smash shit together and let's see if this shit works. And then we finally started kind of getting purple archetypes. And then we got like something like the Cerbex engine, which you could say, all right, cool, I'm going to play Lord Nightmon, or I'm going to play Leviamon with this instead of its own stuff, or whatever other, like, you know, purple toolbox type shit. And I like both ends of the spectrum. And so I constantly go back and forth on Galaxy because, for one, I love that there's an engine that people can play, and it's an inexpensive engine for what it's worth. I mean, all of those cards are, the biggest one is the rares, which is Lunamon, Coronamon, and your Tamer. And that was an EX5. So like, it's been around the block. So yeah, it's super budget. You can build anything you want and it doesn't matter because engine's really good and generic. But I also understand the other point where it's like, fuck, I guess it's more of the use of, or more what they're using, right? If they're doing stuff like the dragons, for example. And then, yeah, I can't digivolve and I can't play stuff by effects, or I can't move my stuff. And when you get, I guess when you aren't allowed to play the game. And so, but that, I feel like that's not a problem with Galaxy archetype. I feel like, I mean, it wasn't a problem for the longest time, right? That went unnoticed for months before it started becoming a problem. And it just became a thing when people were like, oh, wait, there's Ancient Garu.
Like any person who knows TCGs knew immediately how broken those damn Galaxy cards were, and that's why Mario was playing the Shadow because of Yu-Gi-Oh. like anyone who knew, like, played Yu-Gi-Oh was like, oh yeah, I could see this, you know, immediately broken. The moment, because I remember when they first came out, when we did a pod about, I think, the set review, I was like, yo, the moment they dropped broken blue and red sixes, it's over for everybody.
Better sixes.
Like, it didn't matter. Like, all right, cool. Right now you got Dianamon and Apollomon. Apollo's the one that's probably the one that gets played the most out of both of those still. And that's out of one of sometimes. But like, you knew, like, anybody knew Lunamon. Oh wait, that's not a hard once per turn. That's I
can bounce itself back.
Memory. You could do the eggs that you can go from a 3 to an egg and go back to a 3 and then, you know, gain free memory, whatever it is. Evo for cheap. Like, anyone who knew how generically busted that shit was going to be. And I think there's a line of how too generic things can be. Like, Coincide to me is just too generic, because you knew the moment that happened with 6s and even 7s, right? IPM Ace for free is so dumb sounding. Like, it's just stupid that you do it. I think there's just like level to it. And whatever, Kai and Sayo. It's just like the definition of like overly too strong and too generic of an effect. I think that there's just got to be a balance somewhere.
Yeah, I can agree with that aspect of it. Obviously, you know, if they errata/hit the Ko and Sayo, I mean, Galaxy Engine just doesn't work because you don't have, if you're going to lock it down to Lightfang Nightclaw, well, that's Apollo and Diana. That's all you got. So
I wouldn't even mind if they were just drop 6s that had that trait in it. I think it would have been all right. Like, you know, because if you think about it, if anyone played that game, Sun and Moon, right? That's
Dawn and Dusk. You're thinking about Pokemon, sir.
Yeah. Look, it's almost the same thing if you think about it.
It's true.
You know, your Digimon could go into any level 6 basically. Yep. So you just throw in that trait and just say, you know, what they did with Gaogamon and Algamon, right? You could take those cards, play them in their own decks, but you could also play in Galaxy. And I think that's perfectly fine how they did that. Like, those are generically enough to do different things in different decks and still be used in Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I'm interested to see, I mean, so to like wrap everything up, I'm interested to see where the meta heads. Obviously, we know Galaxy and Imperial are like two of the top dogs going into this new format. We are without BT21 for about a month. I think it's the end of April that BT21 drops.
Yeah.
So we have a month. We have a couple. We have a regional coming up, don't we? Or is it an Ultimate Cup?
Yeah, it's in California.
So we have regional coming up, a couple Ultimate Cups. So we're going to see where the ban list takes us. I know there are 2 top decks for sure. Gallant's still going to be around. Magna's still going to be around, and a lot of these decks that were around are still going to be around.
Yellow Vaccine didn't get hit.
Yellow Vaccine didn't get slapped again.
Through Grey Angels.
Yellow Vaccine brings up a great point of something I want to talk about before we end, though. I said in the beginning of pod, we got rotation. Well, not we, but One Piece got rotation. And I've been doing a lot of research on rotation. I'm impartial, erring on the side of I don't want rotation in my Digimon card game. The reason I don't want rotation is because I'm a player. I like buying high rarity shit. I got a problem with buying shiny ass cardboard. And I would hate for one day to find out that my Royal Knights deck that I spent an ungodly amount of money on is not going to be in the next rotation block. Therefore, I have a dead deck. Now, yes, there would be an eternal format, as they announced with One Piece, and I'm sure other card games that have rotation have. But when your regional format is generally speaking rotation, what the fuck does it matter that your high rarity Royal Knights deck isn't able to do shit? And so for me, for that factor alone, for me being card game player, but kind of, I guess I'll call myself a collector, but not as hard as some other people. But I don't have a problem spending money on cardboard as long as I'm enjoying it. I would not want to spend money on my cardboard only to then realize that like I'm okay with losing money. I'm okay with like, all right, cool. I bought this card at 60 and now it's worth $30. I'm not necessarily okay with saying, all right, I've spent $2,000 on this deck, and then in 6 months, a year from now, that shit's like $200. Like, you got me fucked up. I could never. I'm curious to hear both of your thoughts. I know, Dan, you don't. We've spoken about it, so it's more Mario's thoughts, but on rotation or the thought of rotation in Digimon. Obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't do rotation, but we all know Yu-Gi-Oh is a different card game, so it's kind of a non-factor here. But I'm just kind of curious to hear your thoughts on rotation. If we were to ever get it in Digimon, what you would think about that?
I've had a very anti-rotation stance since the game came out. I remember being very fearful when they released the blocks with the O1s for the first time, and I was like, oh shit, oh no. However, I would be very happy if we never got rotation ever. Just leave it alone, whatever. I think the correct way to do it is not to rotate, but use the blocks for some special little tournaments here and there. Really good examples here. They announced Regulation Battle Volume 1, which is commons and uncommons only, which I love. That's a very good idea. But, they intentionally said Volume 1. So maybe Volume 2, 3, 4 will implement a block rotation. And maybe one day they will try something like they did with the old Ultimate Cups that one year, where they limited to the monocolor only. Maybe they will have a premier event at one point that will use the block rotation. But I think that is where it should stop, and it should never go past that. All our regionals, I firmly stand that it should just give us all our cards. That's it. Have fun. And this comes from the Yu-Gi-Oh in me. I do also like Pokemon. And rotation exists, and I deal with it, and it's annoying. So just keep rotation out of my game. Sometimes I dabble with the thought, well, the game is so fast right now, maybe rotation will slow it down a little bit. But then I think to myself, it's all the new cards that are the fastest anyway. And by the way, by the time a theoretical rotation would happen, we'll just have new OTK decks anyway. So I don't think it would really matter. So I don't think it should just ever happen.
Right, because you have a card like Magna X, and I know a lot of people hate Magna X with every fiber of their being.
The card sucks.
And Gallant X also people hate with every fiber of their being. And it's like, I get it. For Magna, I totally get it. For Gallant, I kind of get it. If we were on rotation and Magna got rotated out, who's to say that they won't just create another Magna that's not Magna X, but has the same sort of protection effect? And it's like, I don't know. I just can't see it. Digimon there's something about the way that rotation works that I just can't see it for Digimon. For Pokemon, it makes sense. But for Digimon, I just don't, I don't know. Especially from something Mike brought up when he was talking about rotation. Rotation will work for One Piece the same way that it works for Digimon or for Pokemon, because the one thing with rotation is that, yeah, like a lot of your alt prices are going to fucking plummet.
Mm-hmm.
With Pokemon and One Piece, there's such a large collector community that it doesn't matter. I mean, shit, Pokemon is extremely evident of that. One Piece, people are worried about that, but like realistically, it's not going to happen. There are way too many people who collect One Piece and don't play the game for that to affect them. If rotation ever came to Digimon, I fear what that would do for the secondary market and for what it would do to like sellers for the game. And before anybody says, well, like, oh, well, like the card price is going to drop, it's going to be great. Yeah, it would be up until your shop is like, well, we can't buy Digimon anymore because this product isn't selling, because people don't want to buy the product. They want to buy all the singles. I mean, we kind of saw that with BT15 with all those pre-hits. People didn't want to buy BT15. And then look at the fucking price of Anjumon Ace SP and the price of other shit. And then the prices of stuff of SRs in that set that turned out to be good. Like MirageGaogamon was like $2 at one point. And I don't even remember what he rose to, but he was like way higher than $2 at one point. Stuff like that I don't necessarily think Digimon will survive rotation. I think people think it will, but I don't think our we don't have a collector base. We have a very small collector base that is comprised of maybe, I could probably count on my hand how many like hardcore collectors we have. And then in terms of like the competitive players, I mean, obviously they're all going to be buying base rarity. The casual players, they'll buy base rarity. Some will splurge, but as it stands right now, like I have no problem spending as I said, an ungodly amount of money on Royal Knights. But if we were in a rotation-based format, there's no fucking way that I am spending an ungodly amount of money on a deck that is potentially not going to be rotated in. And I would be very hesitant to spend my money on that. I don't think we would survive rotation. I legitimately think the game would be dead if we went to rotation in some period of time. Is the money wouldn't be there. The stores would stop supporting it. And yeah, that's the Varney take on rotation. Dan.
I guess do we think Bandai is gonna make Digimon rotation as well if they did it with One Piece?
Well, it's officially now on the table.
Right.
It was not on the table before because DBS never rotated. They got a brand new freaking reset game before they did rotation.
Yep.
Like this, to my understanding, is the first Bandai game that has implemented rotation. If I'm wrong, someone can fact check me. But I think this is the first one to do it.
Did Naruto do rotation, Dan? Do you know?
But I don't know if was that Bandai? I don't know.
Yeah, that was a Bandai game. That's what everybody talks about.
Okay,
yeah,
maybe
I don't
I'm
know.
wrong.
Maybe.
However,
I don't know either.
Since this whole new, I'll rephrase like this. Since the Bandai trading card game MCU has opened up, where everyone's on the same app now, this is the first time they have implemented rotation. So now all bets are off.
Yep.
We literally could get hit by it. My fear as to why, like I hate saying Digimon is gonna die because, like,
I think that would
thankfully, sorry to all the BSS players, we know what a recent dead Bandai game looks like.
Yes,
we see it, we know it, we can actually put it on a scale now and objectively measure it. But it scares me, really, really does, because, you know, Digimon is really cool, but if there's enough people that hate rotation, what's going to stop them from saying, okay, well, you know what? Fuck Digimon for implementing rotation. I'm just going to play one of the other games that don't rotate. Or hell, if rotation's just going to be part of my card game future, I'll just fucking play Magic.
Yep.
Pokemon, One Piece, anything but Digimon. You know, I have a fear. I honestly do. So hopefully we just have to never talk about it again.
Hopefully. I pray.
Hopefully.
The one saving grace is that we've been a testing dummy for One Piece for the longest time, and they just decided to go full balls to the wall and give One Piece rotation off the bat and didn't use us as testing dummies.
It's crazy.
So hopefully that was a pure One Piece decision, and it never gets to the Digimon team.
Well, I feel like a difference with like Digimon versus One Piece, right? Maybe they did this because One Piece, you're so limited on
because you can create like 10,000 fucking Luffy's.
Digimon, you can just, you can just create random Digimon like they have with Liberators. You can keep, there's so much, just infinite amount of stuff that you can do that you don't need to be rotated, I think. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Like, because I can imagine like how boring can One Piece get after a while when you're like, oh, here's Luffy number 300. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just weird. I don't know. I just really hope we don't get it. I enjoy having my whole card pool to work from and build a deck from. Obviously, a lot of decks you're not going to use the whole thing, but the idea of, hey, let me try this out. Hey, let me try this out. You just never know sometimes. And sometimes a lot of those older cards are really good still. And obviously, because we got 5 old cards hit in this ban list. So it says a lot about the power of some of the old cards still that we can still use in today's game.
Yeah, I feel like there are a lot of cards that are old that are just like, man, if only. I mean, I've had that in Pokemon in my time when I used to play it before they went to fucking shitty Pocket Live or TCG Live. I was like, man, look at all these old cards that I can use. I never played the rotation format. There was this one deck, it was a Decidui deck that used to fucking fuck my opponent's VMAXs and shit over because it was able to like one-shot them. I can't remember exactly what it did, but that was fun. But I played the Eternal format because I wasn't able to play that in the rotation-based format. And that's what I enjoy. As a card game player, that is what I enjoy. I enjoy the wide breadth of a card pool, especially, I mean, as we get more sets, some people may think it's unwieldy. And sure, it's definitely a big thing for new players to hop into. But I think a deck like Adventure is a great starting point for them. Pick up and play. And I think we need more of those. But for players who are bigger into the game and they're much more experienced, that wide card pool is like, oh man, how can I use and abuse this old card? How can I make this work? How can I make this old boss monster come back to light? I think the ideas of those kinds of stuff are really cool, and I don't really want to give that up. Nope. Like you said, keep rotation away from my Digimon card game as far away as possible. That's my opinion. Audience, if you have any opinions, obviously let us know down in the comments. I am curious to hear what you guys think about rotation because it is a pretty big topic for us as Digimon card game players, since it could very well affect us. You let us know if you want it in your Digimon card game or not. But that is it. That's all the topics that we had for today. So
you missed one.
Ooh, what did I miss?
The Renamon. I'm looking at the phone.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna sim on the phone, baby.
Oh my goodness. All right, Sim. All right, I lied. Come back here. Keep watching. If you haven't seen it, go check on the Digimon. It was on the Digimon Twitter and the Digimon Facebook page. Renamon
YouTube, I think,
picked up a phone that had the Digimon card game on it, and it looked like Hearthstone. Straight up. It looked like the Digimon card game version of Hearthstone. But it's a big thing. By the time you guys see this video, depending on when this gets edited and out, you'll probably have already seen Digimon Con, which is when they're supposed to be announcing the next set of news for their special carding project. Mario, I remember last year very specifically. I know for me, I was super hyped for Digimon Con. I was like, man, I'm so hyped. We're going to get news. And they just fucking gave us the 25th anniversary celebration and just dicked us over. And I remember watching your video. That was like, what the fuck was this? I then remember. So this year I said, no, Digimon Con, I don't give a fuck. Fuck that. I'll watch it after the fact because I'm not getting my hopes up. I know better than to be let down again. Then they go and they drop this teaser. And now I'm on the Cope train again. Yeah. Because...
Hey, and we also got the game that's coming out too that they're going to be talking about.
Right. So and we got Time Stranger.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Man, what a...
Might be...
This is one of those up years for Digimon fans. This is one of the years we won't get cucked, guys. I am so excited for an officially supported sim. I'm very curious as to how they're going to do it. Obviously, the intention is probably, let's try to monetize this, right? And because you're not just going to put out a fucking game for free. I love DCGO, but the one thing that those guys struggle with is they are doing it for free. So it's as they have time. Bandai's not going to fucking do that for free. And I don't blame them. I will pay. Listen, I will pay. Fuck it.
Look, if it's Master Duel, I am splurging.
If we are playing Digimon Master Duel,
it's over.
I'm fucked because now I gotta spend money on my physical card game and my digital card game.
Yeah.
Mario, I know you've been a big supporter of bringing out a sim to lay it on us. What's the thoughts?
Yes, I do believe that I think I have been the most vocal Digimon authority figure, we'll call it, about a simulator, official simulator. I think. I don't know if there's anyone that's talked about it more than I. Maybe there is, but there ain't much competition. I've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
And you know how pissed off I was that DBS Fusion World got it before Digimon? Anyway, okay. So by the time you're watching this video, you probably already know what's going to happen based on what Varney
But we
just
don't.
said. But we don't right now. So this will either age terribly or it won't. I don't know. So I'm going to give you my thought process. I'm going to give you what I think is going to happen. And then I'll give you what I maybe think is going to happen. And then I'm going to give you what I hope to God doesn't happen. So, there's been, a few TCG phone apps like Duel Links and Marvel Rivals that, did cool things and had an oomph. But then Pokemon Pocket came out and blew them all away. It was an unfounded success.
Marvel Snap.
Thank you, Marvel Snap.
Yeah.
But it was an unfounded success to Pokemon Pocket. That was a literal cash cow, one of the biggest cash cows we've ever seen. And it was a simple premise. It's just a very simplified version of the Pokemon trading card game. Kind of like how Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links was a very simplified version of Yu-Gi-Oh! And yeah, you could buy your packs. And you can craft your cards on Pocket. And now you can trade. That's a beautiful thing. And they're bringing in ranked play for Pocket this month, if they haven't done it already. I've been following too much. But these are all cool things. And I think anyone that has a card game, looking at Bandai, that they have eyes, they can see the success of the Pokemon Pocket. They would have to be actually stupid to just ignore it, to not think to themselves, can we do something like this? Right? And I don't, I criticize Bandai a lot. I don't think they're stupid. So what I think we're getting is like the Pokemon Pocket or the Duel Links of Digimon, where it might be some kind that this is my first guess. This is just a mini version of the game that, it'll still be an online simulator. You'll still be able to buy your packs. You'll still be able to build your decks. You'll still be able to battle with people online. Not against a robot. Against actual people online. And craft your cards and all that stuff. Spend as much money as you want. And it's going to be that. That is what I think my first guess is. Based on nothing but the success of Pokemon Pocket recently. And the success of prior phone card game apps before it. Then my second guess is we are just getting a Master Duel, an MTG Arena, a Pokemon TCG Live. Maybe not Pokemon TCG Live, but like a Master Duel, an MTG Arena, or a Fusion World. Official, you can just play the whole game, simulator, ranked battles, you buy your packs. Maybe they have custom packs instead of BT 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to whatever. Maybe they do their own sets, their own custom sets or whatever. But whatever. Or maybe do the same thing. Whatever. But it's going to be the official simulator, whatever, just the whole bee's knees, which I would love to see. And I've made you guys, may or may not know this. I made a promise to my community, YouTube and Twitch, that should the day come where the official Digimon simulator comes, I'm going to stream the poop out of it. It's going to be, and half my content is going to be just that's it. It's just going to be the simulator content, and we're going to try to get ranked #1 in the world and all this shit. Like, it's going to be a beautiful thing, and I made a promise to my community that when it happens, I'm going all in. Like, I'm not streaming so much right now. I'll stream 5 nights a week for this. I don't care. It's going to be great. The amount of money I'll blow on it. Anyway,
Same.
what I have to address is maybe the worst case scenario.
God, don't do it.
I know. I'm cautiously optimistic when it comes to Bandai, but some people in the community, not a lot of people, granted, but some people do think it's just going to be another how to play starter,
an updated tutorial app.
Updated tutorial app.
I will fucking riot.
Something like that. Like, Bandai could just be giving us the biggest gaslight in modern card game history. Maybe. And if that happens, I will cry, be very angry, and make a video saying, the fuck are you doing, Bandai? But if it's anything else, I'm going to make a video praising Bandai, saying, it's about time. Good shit. Things are going to change. So I really am leaning towards either a pocket mini game of Digimon or a full-fledged simulator for the game that we have right now. That better be it. One of the two. I'll take either one.
I'm also cautiously optimistic because there's just that part of me that's like, you've been burned before. Don't let them do it to you again.
Yep.
Well, like, why would you drop this? Why? Especially the way they did it, right? I think it would be one thing if we got like just like a glimpse of like the game being played on the phone, but like they animated a Renamon picking up the phone and getting sucked into it.
I will say this.
I can't help but be optimistic.
Just based off like that little screen capture we got, it looks way different than the tutorial app. So that's my, indicator that like, all right, there's a good chance it's some type of simulator, whether it's like a pocket version, like Mario said, or like the actual game or not, because it just looks way different than.
For what it's worth.
App. And I don't think they would hype up the tutorial app if they did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it's already out. They're already out. They hyped it up for when we got the aces, and not in that type of way.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? They talked about it like, hey, we updated this, and look, go check out the tutorial.
I do remember that. Yes. No, for what it's worth, a small thing to note, but they're playing the game sideways. They're playing it in landscape orientation. Yeah. As a big thing, because if they were playing it vertically, Pokemon Pocket is vertical.
Yep.
Card Fight had a game that was vertical. Duel Links is vertical. So most of those, like, I guess, like high action card games, they stay vertical so that you can play it with one hand. Mm-hmm. Once you turn that phone sideways, that's Master Duel, Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I don't know those are my two biggest two I know, but that's Shadowverse Evolved. That's those game territory. So it's like, we licking our chops. It's like, this is all the signs point. We will know in 2 days for sure. 10 p.m. I think it is.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be live streaming Digimon Con for the first time ever, and let me tell you, it's either going to go impressively well or absolutely terribly.
Dan and I, no in between with Bandai. No in between.
Dan and I are definitely going to either be, because we're going to be commentating a tournament, and we're either going to be like, all right, fuck this tournament. This is it. This is our night. Or we're going to be like, all right, fuck this. Let's get back to the tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm a Digimon simulator. I honestly thought we'd never get it. I'll be honest. I think it's why I have said, I keep saying it like almost every pod now. 2025 is the year of Digimon. 2025 is the year that we know what direction Bandai's taking Digimon in. We're either going to come out of 2025 knowing that this game is, having an eternal future. Maybe not eternal. That's the wrong word to use. Having a long future, or nah, fuck this, it's gonna die off in a couple of years. We are in year 5, because we're gonna about to be unified. Game came out in 2020. We're year 5, which is a strong place to be, and we're about to be unified. First ban list of unification. If we get a app, it would make sense, right? Because they're like, I think with Fusion World was a global launch. So you can play with everybody from around the globe. They don't have to make different formats for different regions. An app would make sense because Digimon would be their second global unified game. So you can play with everybody around the world, don't have to maintain multiple formats. One Piece will be global next year. I don't think UA will ever be global, but UA to me doesn't seem like a game they'd make a sim for, because that feels like everything about UA feels like I want to play in person with my IPs, with my friends. I don't know anything about the competitive side of UA, so I can't comment on that. And then what card game am I missing? Gundam. Gundam could very well launch with an app. We don't know. It's still in the beta phase. We don't have set review. Like, we're getting some stuff, but set is still 4 months off. It's coming out in July. So Gundam with a global release could very well also come out with a mobile app. We don't know. We wouldn't know at least for another 2 months. But if this is what we think it is, this is such a strong step in the way of unification. And this is one way I could probably see a rotation in the game, making the game survive.
Don't do it. Just shut up.
Okay, all right.
Wrap it up. Let's go.
Wrap it up. All right.
This guy.
Keep rotation away from my Digimon card games.
Yes.
Get rid of it.
I'm so excited. 2025 is the year of Digimon. We hope for good things. So now, with that being said, we have touched on all of our topics, and that is it for today's episode of DigiPod, the digital podcast. Do we have any parting words for the audience?
Go ahead, Mario. You got anything?
Oh, you got me on the spot here.
Yeah.
Always be cautiously optimistic and just keep opening that digital gate.
Digital gate. Open. If you guys like this podcast, please drop a like, drop a comment, and let us know what you thought, and also subscribe so that you know when future content comes out. And also go subscribe to Mario's channel. Mario does make some good content, despite what the community may say. Make that decision for yourself. Make that decision for yourself. Mario, thank you very much for coming on pod with us today. It was a pleasure having you. And until we talk to you guys the next time,
Thank you.
peace out.
Catch you on the next one.
Bye.